Hello everyone and welcome to the class. This is David Acox and today we are talking all about Automator. Now this is a class that we decided to produce because we had received so many requests from all of you, either through YouTube or Facebook or our website. And so when I went to start to do the research for Automator, one of the first things I started to discover was that no one had really put out a lot of information about this application. In fact, I have to give credit where credit is due, and there were some great articles put out by Macworld, the magazine, but their website version, so thank you to them for putting that out there. But I hope you enjoyed the class. This is the class we actually taught yesterday, and I just, after the class, figured I could probably do a better job recording this offline. So that's what we're doing today. Here is Automator for Mac, coming up on PCClassesOnline.com.
Welcome everyone. So one of the things I wanted to start off by saying is that the importance of Automator has really lessened over the years. It was originally designed to make repetitive tasks really easier. For example, if you needed a bunch of photos to all be renamed the same thing, it could do that fairly simply, although granted it does take quite a few steps to do that. But what has happened is, thanks to innovations in many different applications, as well as the introduction of other services like iCloud, there really is not a giant need anymore for Automator. There is one really cool part about Automator, which I will go over at the very end. But what I wanted to mention is that this is not an unlimited application. Okay, it can't just do whatever you want. Many of the key automation features people care about, I have already taught how to accomplish those much more easily. So if you're interested in automating aspects of your computer, which you may want to seriously consider checking out, and I will of course put a link in the description of this video, but a few months ago we taught a class on this application called Hazel. And also another one which goes very well with Hazel is another application called Alfred. Both of those are classes that we have fully produced. It is so much easier to use Hazel or Alfred than Automator. I'm giving you that warning now, and that's kind of going to be the theme today, which is that, yeah, Automator can do some pretty cool things, but you're going to find two things. One, it's easier to do all of those items in Hazel or Alfred in some cases, but also a lot of the features where Automator was built to help support these different tasks are no longer necessary because there's just so many other ways to accomplish the same goal. It was great when Automator first came out back over 10 years ago, but it's just kind of sat there and hasn't really changed a lot. Now, like I said, there is one major exception to the rule, and that is the very last feature we're going to talk about, which has to do with creating custom voice commands where you can just talk to your computer and it can open a website, it can open up an email to a certain person, whatever. That part, really cool for the people who need it. But I just wanted to get that part out at the beginning. So let's talk about where is Automator in your computer. They've kind of buried it at this point. You can either get it, of course, through Finder. If you go to Finder and Applications, that one's pretty easy. Let's go to Icon View. And there it is right there, Automator. If you go through Launchpad, one of the things I've noticed, and this is kind of very telling, I find, is that when you're in Launchpad, they've now hidden it in this folder here called Other, along with other apps that we don't really use anymore, like Chess and Fontbook and Stickies. But here it is, Automator, and it is pretty darn complicated. I know I've already said that. So let me start to kind of walk you through it. I'm going to give you a few examples of different types of automation that you can create, but let's get started here. So the first thing we're going to do today is create a workflow that is going to be handy for someone like a photographer. If you had a bunch of photos that are all different names and you need them to just be sequential. So instead of being photo 0001, it would be photo at the beach -1, photo at the beach -2, etc. Now, what I'm about to show you can easily be accomplished in iPhoto as well. So this is just once again emphasizing my point that Automator used to be really, really handy, but it's not quite as necessary anymore. There may be other examples out there where it is still relevant and it is still useful. I just haven't been able to find one. So we're going to create a new workflow. Let's hit choose. Okay. And the first thing we need to do is we need to tell it where are these files going to come from. So we're going to go over here on the left-hand side into where it has the kind of Finder icon. It says Files and Folders. Okay. And so we're going to tell it to get specified Finder items right here. And we're going to drag that and drop it into the workflow. So that's step one. So you can either take these files and you can drag them and drop them into this box in Automator, or you can click Add, which will open a Finder window and direct you to figure out where those are. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to rename them. So if you look down here at the bottom, it says Rename Finder Items. And we're just going to drag that and drop it below. Okay. Now you are going to get this little dialog box. This is basically just asking, do you want these new documents, whatever they may be, do you want them to be renamed? So it's going to write over the old ones, or do you want to just simply create a copy? I'm going to hit don't add right now, so that way it's just going to write over the originals. So give me 2 seconds here. Let me just grab a bunch of photos out of iPhoto. Let's just drop those on the desktop. Okay. So we've got a bunch of photos here. They all have DSC and different numbers, a couple exceptions to the rule. So what I'm going to do is just click and drag over these photos and drop them into this dialog box at the top of Automator. Okay, they're all there. And now I have to tell it exactly how do I want these to be named. So instead of adding the time and date, let's go to Make Sequential. You'll see here there are other options here. Okay, and we're going to add a new name, so we'll call it Photo at the Beach. Starts at number 1. One thing to be aware of here, if you have more than 9 photos, okay, you're going to hit double digits. So if you are going to have that many, you would want this to be 0, 1. And then after that, we're going to place a number after the name, and we'll separate it by a dash. That's fine. So when you're done and ready to go, there's 2 different ways to run this. You can either hit run, which is what we're going to do in just a second, or if you hit step, it'll kind of go through each part of this equation, and you can just make sure that it's working correctly. I did notice that in doing my research for this, if there was a problem with the equation, and this is a relatively simple equation, it tended to crash the application. So just be aware of that. Let's hit run, and when I click this, watch the names of the photos on the right-hand side. There you go. I want to prove my point here. I'm going to quit out of Automator for a moment so you can just see how much extra work that was compared to the other way that you can accomplish that same task. If I were to just simply go into iPhoto, select those photos, go here to File, Export, and if you look right here, it says File Name. Instead of using File Name, change it to Sequential, Photo at the Beach, okay, and hit Export. It's going to do the exact same thing. But the difference is that I never needed to leave iPhoto in order to do that. Just another example where it seems to be creating more work for yourself than is necessary. So let's go on to another task here. Let's go back into Automator. New, Command N. By the way, if you click on Automator, the icon, and nothing happens, just hit Command N to pull up a new one. Let's go over a handy one that I think you guys are going to maybe like, you never know, is we're going to create a printer plugin. So what this is going to do is give us the ability to automatically encrypt PDFs. Okay, so we'll hit that, hit choose. The first step we would need to do in order to do this, okay, is we need to tell it what to do. So I am just going to go up here to the search at the top left, and I'm just going to type in the word encrypt. And there it is, Encrypt PDF document. Drag it and drop it in here. So it's asking me what is going to be the password that you're going to have to open, you're going to have to type in order to open these documents. The downside is this means that they're all going to be the same password. So if you're trying to keep this away from someone and they get that password, they now have access to everything. So let's just put in the word password, because inevitably I will forget this. Something, of course, that you should never, ever, ever do. Options here, let's see. Let's tell it to show this action when the workflow runs. Okay, and maybe you want to do an extra feature here. Let's move the files to one location. So on top of that, let's tell it to move Finder items, okay, to the desktop. Very simple. So when you're done creating, in this case, a printer plugin, and you hit save, this is what it's going to ultimately look at. So we're going to call it Encrypt My Stuff. You may end up seeing two versions of this because I did teach this class yesterday. So let's quit out of that. Okay, that's now in the system of the Mac. By the way, this is user specific. So if you have multiple users, whatever you create here is not going to be on user number 2. So let's say that I am creating a, where did pages go? Let's say I'm creating a pages document. It's super, super secretive, of course. And when I'm done, in case you are not aware of this part, the way you actually create a PDF, you can hit export to PDF, but that's not going to give us the encryption options through this method, although you actually can. We're going to hit print. And if you look down here at the bottom left, see it says PDF? There it is, Encrypt My Stuff. So if I click on that, it's going to automatically encrypt the document. Hit continue. And you'll notice that on my desktop now, there's an untitled encrypted document. And in order to get into it, when I double click, I have to type in, oops, and there it is, my document of gobbledygook. So that's another example. Once again, just to prove a point, if you go into Pages and you were creating a document and you wanted to do that without having to create a printer plugin, you could do the exact same thing by going to File and hit Set Password. That's the same type of encryption. There's nothing different there. So here's what I would like to do at this point. I feel like I'm at the point where I'm starting to overstate what I'm trying to get through to all of you, which is that obviously there is no longer a giant need for most of the features in Automator. However, there is this one feature that I feel fairly strongly could help a lot of people out there, and I want to really kind of drive that part of it home. Instead of keep showing you how to do something and then show you, oh, by the way, you can do it in 2 seconds by doing it through this other method. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a quick little break, and when we come back, I'm going to walk you through all of the steps that you need to start speaking to your computer and have it do different things like open websites or even launch applications. It's really cool. I think this is going to be the part that you guys are going to care the most about. So stick around. We will be right back in 2 seconds. Welcome back, folks. So let's get to the cool stuff here. I'm going to show you how to create dictation commands on your computer. Now, there are technically sort of 2 different ways to do this. It ultimately depends on what you're trying to accomplish by just simply using your voice. Quick note, this will only work on a Mac that is running operating system Mac OS X Yosemite. That's version 10.10. If you're not sure what you have, just go to the Apple icon about this Mac, and on the next screen it will show you. So there are 2 steps that you have to do before starting this process, and both are located in System Preferences. So go to your Apple menu, go to System Preferences. Part 1, go here to where it says Dictation and Speech. And you need to make sure that not only is dictation turned on, but also enhanced dictation needs to be turned on. Also, you will notice here you need to be aware of whatever your shortcut key is. Now, by default, this is set to the function key. You would tap it twice in order to trigger this feature. In my case, I just prefer the command key because I never, ever use the function key. But you can do whatever you want. When you're done with that, the other feature you have to go to is here in Accessibility, here at the bottom right. Scroll to the bottom. Dictation is the last option. Go into Dictation Commands, and please make sure that this box here is checked. By default, it is not checked, so you need to do that. Now, this giant list here are all of the different commands that you can give to your computer by voice. A lot of people don't even know that this part here exists. Now, it can be a little bit tedious because you have to phrase it correctly. However, there are ways to train it to learn different types of things. For example, for those of you who have ever used Dragon Dictation, you can either say undo that, but you can also say the words scratch that, and it will undo the last step. You can do that by going through and adding additional commands here. So let me first kind of give you an idea of what is possible within this dialog box. We're going to hit the plus symbol here, okay, to create a brand new command. So first thing we need to do is figure out what our trigger word is going to be, okay? So you can say, when I say whatever you want, and this can either be in a specific application or it can be any application. It all depends on what it is you're trying to do, okay? And then you can have it do these different options here. You can tell it to open a particular file. You can have it launch an app. Most of those are already here, so there really is no reason to add in like launch Safari. It's already built in. You don't have to do that. Creating a workflow. If you have a workflow that you have created in Automator, you can run it from here. So that is a good way to not have to actually go into Automator in order to run a workflow. Paste text, paste data, or do some sort of a keyboard shortcut. So for example, even though it's already there, you could say print my document, and boom, it goes and it prints it. Very simple. So I want to just kind of go through here and show you the different categories. We have different selection options, okay? So for saying select next word, select previous sentence, okay? Navigation, okay, especially when dealing with documents, this is going to be handy. I remember a couple years ago I was dealing with working with a guy who had ALS, and it was very frustrating to be able for him to use his computer using voice commands. We got it, but it was not fun. Let's put it that way. Editing options here. Okay, cut that, copy that, paste that. Formatting. System options here. Applications. Okay. And different document options here as well. Let's hit done. So now let's get out of this. Let's go back into Automator and let's create a new dictation command. Okay. So let's go there. I am going to give a little free promo to a certain website that I would love to do a story on us that has never done a story, even though PC Classes Online is a free public service. If you've never seen their website, it is one of the best damn blogs on the internets. And the name of that website is theawesomer.com. Whenever you watch the news and they have those viral videos, okay, whatever cat is blowing up another cat or whatever it may be, it always starts on the Awesomer. And if you want to be the cool friend who shares the viral video before it goes viral, that's where you go to find it. So I'm going to create a dictation command where I will say to the computer, I need more awesome. We're going to check this box here to make it command enabled. And now we need to tell it exactly what to do. So let's go over here on the left-hand side, and we're going to go into Internet. And the first thing it needs to do is get the website. So we're going to tell it to get a specified URL. So let's drag that in here. Of course, the default is always apple.com. Funny how that is the case. And let's delete that and put theawesomer.com. So we've got that. It can't just get the specified URL. It also has to open it. So in order to do that, we are going to take display web pages, and we're going to drag that beneath it. And that's actually all you need to do. So let's save that, and we're going to call it awesome stuff. Okay, hit save. And now let's close out of Automator, and I'm going to show you how it works. Now, I have noticed it sometimes takes a few seconds for it to kind of sink in. So I'm going to double tap my command key. Also, you should know I am using my microphone right now in order to teach this class, so there's a bit of a delay that should not happen on your screen. Also, I use 2 monitors, so if it goes to monitor 2, I will drag it in. Wait for it to ding. I need more awesome. Hey, how about that? And our friends at the Awesomer just got their free little promo. Pretty cool. But you could really program pretty much anything in your computer to do this. Let me give you another example. Maybe not a very good one, but we'll try it out. So I'm going to just tell it to launch an application. Let's try that. Launch Mail. And notice Apple Mail opens. And there's all the fake emails that I get from my fake email account that I use for teaching purposes only. So it's a pretty great feature, and the different things that you could do with that in Automator are nearly unlimited. But I would really strongly recommend that you just kind of play with that. But dictation command, in my opinion, is probably the only feature of Automator at this point in time that has any value to it. After all, if Apple's burying it in the folder called Other, which is basically where apps go to die, I think it's a pretty good indication that it's limited use at this point. But that being said, this portion of Automator I find to be a really cool feature, and I think some of you out there might like it too. Please leave us your feedback in the comments section below. Want to know, do you agree with this? Do you disagree? I think I've pretty much proven my point, at least at this point, but maybe there are other uses for Automator that I haven't thought of. Would love to hear from all of you, of course, in the comments section below. You never know, it just might lead to another video that we create. This is David A. Cox with PCClassesOnline.com. If you've never heard of us, please do check out our website. We are a free public service. We have live classes that we offer every Wednesday and every Saturday that any of you in the world can attend. It's pretty cool stuff. That's all for me, everyone. Class dismissed.